Just because guys are teammates doesn't mean they get along. In the NFL, your teammates are like your brothers, but anyone with siblings knows even brothers can get into it at times. But these guys took it to a whole nother level. Here are a few NFL teammates who absolutely hated each other. Donovan McNabb and Terrell Owens. The Terrell Owens and Donovan McNabb controversy started after the Hall of Fame wide receiver took a shot at his former quarterback during an interview with Michael Irvin on ESPN. Owens claimed that the Eagles would be better off if Brett Favre was their quarterback, opposed to McNabb. And while this wasn't Owens' first time taking shots at him, it was this comment that hit the hardest. The former Eagles signal caller took it personal, stating that Owens' comments were black on black crime due to his number one receiver wanting a white quarterback over him. His comments also caused a rift in the locker room, and it led to the unraveling of the Eagles' 2005 season, in which the team finished 6-10 and missed the playoffs. Geno Smith and Enemkali. Just before the start of the 2015 season, New York Jets starting quarterback Geno Smith got into it with linebacker Enemkali in the locker room over a $600 plane ticket that the linebacker purchased for Smith to come to his football camp over the summer. But Smith never showed up for personal reasons, and as a result of his no-show, the former Jets linebacker wanted to be reimbursed, and Smith refused to pay up. IK then punched Geno in the jaw, breaking it, which forced him to miss a significant amount of time. To make matters worse for Geno, he lost his starting job to fellow quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick, who went on to have a career year as he led the Jets to a 10-6 record, barely missing the playoffs. New York decided to part ways with Enemkali after the incident, and he went on to sign with the Buffalo Bills, Michael Irvin and Everett McIver. Some guys fight with their fists, but Michael Irvin plays for keeps. That was apparent in 1998 when Irvin stabbed his own teammate with a pair of scissors during training camp before the season. The victim was offensive lineman Everett McIver, who got into a spat with Irvin over a haircut. While McIver was already in the chair getting his haircut, Irvin expected the younger player to vacate the seat and claim seniority as his reasoning. After 3 attempts to get McIver out of the chair, Irvin snapped. McIver got out of the chair to shove Irvin, but Irvin responded by jigging McIver in the neck with a pair of scissors. Ironically enough, the stabbing resulted in a 2-inch deep cut above McIver's collarbone that barely missed a main artery, which could have killed him as blood was reportedly squirting everywhere. Irvin would go on to record another 1,000-yard season and suffered a career-ending neck injury in 1999, while McIver stuck with the Cowboys through the 1999 season and later retired. Joe Montana and Steve Young. Immediately after the San Francisco 49ers traded for Steve Young, he and Joe Montana were enemies from the start. Montana, who was dealing with elbow problems before his departure, felt he was being replaced by Young, and that was the biggest factor in him being traded to the Kansas City Chiefs in 1993. After all, it was obvious that Young was brought in to replace Montana in the first place, not to back him up. Former Niners president Carmen Policy noted that the situation involving Montana and Young had become so hostile that they had no choice but to trade Montana. Stories suggest that the two quarterbacks never spoke to each other, and there was a 0% chance that the two would get along from the beginning. Percy Harvin and the Seahawks wide receivers. Former NFL wide receiver Percy Harvin fought 2 different teammates during his time with the Seattle Seahawks. The first happened the night before Super Bowl 43, when Harvin and Golden Tate came to blows at the team's hotel. Harvin not only body slammed Tate, but he also gave him a black eye during the scuffle. The second altercation involved a spat with Doug Baldwin in the team's locker room prior to a preseason game against Oakland in 2014. While the specifics of the fight aren't known, both players have admitted it happened, and other teammates in the locker room had to separate the 2 players. And not long after his second brawl with his teammates, Percy was shipped out of town to the New York Jets, thus ending the headache Harvin had become for the Seahawks. Brandon Marshall and Jay Cutler. Brandon Marshall and Jay Cutler were teammates on 2 different teams. First with the Denver Broncos from 2006 to 2008, then with the Chicago Bears from 2012 to 2014, and sadly, the relationship soured over the years. This became apparent after Marshall left the Bears to play for the New York Jets. Marshall told the media that he and Cutler did not get along towards the end because he was the only one on the team willing to hold Cutler responsible for the team's poor performance. When asked about it in 2016, Marshall revealed he didn't talk to Cutler during the final season together, and the two hadn't talked since. But this time, his comments wouldn't go without a response from Cutler. Cutler basically equated the whole situation with Marshall to a breakup with a girlfriend. Bill Romanowski and Marcus Williams. One block by Marcus on Bill proved to be a costly one for the Oakland Raiders tight end. During a play at practice, Williams ran upfield after the ball was snapped and drove Romanowski toward the sideline sideline. Romanowski then grabbed Williams, who grabbed back and punched the tight end square in his face after his helmet had come off. The blow left Williams unconscious, and he suffered a chipped tooth and broken eye socket. The injury to his eye socket was all that was needed to end his career prematurely, thanks to the notorious hot-headed Romanowski. Williams later filed a lawsuit against Romanowski seeking damages, but only $340,000 was awarded to Williams, despite him seeking nearly $4 million in damages. Romanowski's reckless act ended another man's career early, giving Williams every right to despite his former teammate. Richie Incognito and Jonathan Martin. Former Miami Dolphins offensive lineman Richie Incognito was reportedly harassing his fellow lineman Jonathan Martin, who suffered a mental breakdown and left the team. Incognito, along with Mike Pouncey and John Jerry, called Martin sexual names over a regular basis. From there, Incognito took it to a more personal level and even took shots at Martin's sister, mostly with sexual references. Incognito's abuse didn't stop at just Martin. He also allegedly joined in with Pouncey and Jerry to harass an assistant trainer who was Japanese. The trio fired off racial slurs at the trainer and threatened to retaliate on the anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor. And once the allegations involving Martin came to light and a review of the situation was done by the NFL, Incognito was suspended by the team, and he was later reinstated by the NFL and signed with the Buffalo Bills in 2015 after more than a year out of the sport. Martin, on the other hand, never recovered from the incident and would play just one more season with the San Francisco 49ers in 2014. Martin and Incognito never made amends, and Martin has no desire to do so to this day. RG3 and the Washington Redskins. Early on, Robert Griffin III was pegged as the savior of the Washington Redskins, and during his rookie season, he led the Redskins to the playoffs, and despite his knee injuries, the future was still bright. Fast forward a few years, and it didn't take long for Griffin's teammates to hate his guts. In an interview done by his former teammate, tight end Chris Cooley, it was revealed that the team's offensive line, wide receivers, and much of the rest of the team hated the quarterback. Cooley noted that the offensive line took the blame that it didn't feel it deserved for not protecting RG3 properly, mostly because a lot of the sacks were considered RG3's fault for holding the ball too long, and when Griffin didn't come to their defense, it angered his teammates. RG3 would eventually lose his starting job to fellow quarterback Kirk Cousins, with whom he also had problems with, and signed with the Cleveland Browns for the 2016 season. Riley Cooper and Carrie Williams. A racist tirade in 2013 from Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver Riley Cooper was caught on camera when he attended a concert, and it made the entire world hate his guts. But it was cornerback Carrie Williams who really let him have it. In a fight that was caught on video, Williams and Cooper got into it during practice after the cornerback clearly wanted to make a statement that he didn't appreciate Cooper's racist comments. And despite being an utter disappointment to the Eagles and the NFL as a whole, Cooper remained on the Eagles through the 2015 season and even had his best year as a pro the same year he made an absolute fool of himself. Williams, on the other hand, stuck with Philly through the 2014 season and moved on to play for the Seattle Seahawks in 2015, his final season in the NFL. Ironically enough, both players have yet to play another snap following the 2015 season. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.
Tell me why they sleeping on me, on me, oh. Tell me why they sleeping on me, oh.